People think you've been involved in Bitcoin for a decade since, the beginning, because you've become such a strong, both knowledgeable and protagonist on you. But it wasn't. It was just a few years ago. Can you tell the story of what happened that got you excited and gave you, for lack of a better term, religion on this?
Bitcoin represents a paradigm shift. It's the digital transformation of money, property, and energy. And paradigm shifts are so profound that you're staring at them and you don't realize they took place because your worldview is constructed based upon a bunch of assumptions that you've always taken for granted. And so what Thomas Kuhn says in the structure of scientific revolutions and what we study at MIT is there's only two circumstances under which people willingly undergo a paradigm shift. And one way is you wait for the old guard to die. And
Yes.
the millennials they get it because they're different. And Einstein, said God does not play dice with the universe. Einstein never liked quantum theory. You could be a brilliant person, but you won't embrace the paradigm shift while you're alive in the absence of a crisis. The second way you get paradigm shift is a war. When there's a war and there are bombs dropping from above, you don't believe in atomic power, but then someone drops a nuclear weapon and the city evaporates, and all of a sudden you become a believer and you reassess your priorities.
I would posit there's another way, which is when something is 10 times better than anything else. 10 times cheaper, 10 times faster, 10 times better. It's like how I got my mom and dad to go to a digital camera or to use Google or the web, right? It's like when it's that much better.
Yeah, I will say though, even when it's 10 times better, what you have is a commercially successful venture. But for example, Warren Buffett never invested in Microsoft and Warren Buffett never invested in Amazon, right? Even though it's 10 times better, right? If you have enough money and enough power, you can ignore stuff. My dad didn't use any of the new technology until at some point we gave him a television and YouTube, and YouTube did it. Like, he didn't care about all the other things, but if you can sit and you can talk to the remote and you can stream on YouTube to anything, all of a sudden 80-year-old man decides he loves this now. And so it has to just click.
What clicked for you with Bitcoin? When was it? Was it was it
it's the second quarter of 2020. And what clicked was we had a K-shaped recovery. Main Street was shut down. It's pretty, millions of people have lost their jobs. The economy's contracting. And then Wall Street exploded and recovered and hit all-time highs. And I had a company with $500 million in cash that was dead money. It was idle. It was generating 0% interest. The Federal Reserve said, we're not going to raise interest rates for 4 years. The company's stock was in the tank. We've got a choice between a fast death, a slow death, or we ride out of the castle and we take a risk. Okay, the fast death is I just give the $500 million back to the shareholder, then all the employees would get headhunted away by Amazon and Google and Facebook. So the second strategy is hold the cash. But the cash is, cash trash. Ray Dalio says that is generating 0% interest. And the money supply expanded by 20% a year for the past 2 years. In my head, and I concluded that pretty much the $500 million in purchasing power would be cut into $250 million of purchasing power in 36 to 48 months. So that's a slow death. So I thought, well, what if I could find a digital gold, which was better gold than gold, something that is better than gold, but also a big tech monopoly. It looks like the Facebook of money or the Google of money. While 98% of the world doesn't understand it, it's a bit too complicated, they're afraid of it. But just because you don't understand it doesn't mean it isn't true. It just means,
right.
And I had the experience of riding the mobile wave.
Yep.
And I'm the guy in 2011 that bought Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google stock, and they all worked out well. And I thought, the year's 2020, we're at the end of the mobile wave. I tell a funny story in the mobile wave about my niece on a beach, and she's like, yeah, well, I just bought some Amazon stock. And Amazon's trading at $3,300 a share, and it just doubled. Every Uber driver understands that. Things now know they should buy Amazon and Apple and Google This is not a misunderstood technology trend anymore. So get off the mobile wave, get on the crypto wave, and think that through. So that kind of made the decision straightforward. It wasn't without risk, but the alternative, and just either get beat to death fast or beat to death slowly. And so we got into this business at that time. And of course, the last 2 years have been, I think, fairly good ones in terms of commercialization, institutionalization of digital assets.